Hello! Hey guys, I'm Kate, Plastic Free Mermaid, and I'm going to start doing these live Q&As. I post on my Instagram that I'm going to do a live Q&A, and then people can write their questions there, or tune in to the live and ask questions here with a little comment box. If you're watching this after the fact, you can always comment questions below this video, and I can answer them in a future Q&A, because I do have to be doing these regularly. So we have a few questions that I'll start with, and then um, and then if people tune in and ask questions, I'll go to theirs. So we had someone asked on Instagram, what advice do you give someone who wants to reduce the waste around their food, but there's no bulk food store in their area? That's a tough one, because a lot of my messaging is all around shop bulk, but it's easily remedied, because most of the bulk food stores get all of their bulk goods shipped in plastic bags. A lot of the oils are in kind of metal drums or containers, so that's great, but most everything else does come shipped in a plastic bag, really large quantities, but still plastic. So what I recommend is, hopefully you live in an area with some other people that might be interested in reducing their footprint as well, or at least maybe you could convince them to go in on it with you. So trying to get your own kind of order online bulk walnuts or bulk legumes or bulk rice, whatever it is that you're interested in, and get the large bag and then split it up between you and your community. I've seen this work with like mums groups, like parents that already have children who are friends or children in school together, and they already share carpool and watching the kids and that sort of thing. There's already a little community there, so maybe doing bulk food with that parent group might work. Or if you have like healthy friends that you work out together, so trying to find a community that might be interested in sharing that with you, and then you could do the ordering, and then kind of like when it arrives, everyone comes over with their jars and you measure it out however it feels good to you, and they bring cash or whatever. So that's what I would recommend. Other than that, I mean, we just have to do our best. We can't always be 100% sustainable. We just don't live as connected to nature as we used to. I think only in the since the industrial revolution is when we've moved inside. We work and live inside, most of us. So we're just not as connected to nature anymore. So just do your best, and save the plastic that you do use. Try and reuse it, and yeah, good luck. All right, second question. Do you have food cravings, like for candy bars, but if things that are wrapped in plastic? If so, how do you deal with it? This is a question from Neely on Instagram. She says about 70% of the time she ignores the craving, but sometimes she gives in to the delicious, bad for the environment treat. I used to have cravings for candy bars and things. Like I used to kind of miss them, like ice creams wrapped in plastic or something on a hot day. But mostly, like, I feel it in my body. Like if I have something with that amount of sugar, like I really feel it. Like I'm like a little kid, and so I just have this spike of energy and then I crash. And also, if it's full of a lot of dairy, like, first of all, I don't eat animal products, and second of all, that sort of thing would just make me feel really sick. So I'm not that interested in those particular products. And also, I've gotten really into making raw vegan treats, so I usually have like Bliss balls at home on handy, so I get that like actually satisfying taste of like cacao and dates and seeds and nuts, and so it's like sweet and chocolatey and yummy, but like really satisfying, instead of like the sugar, which like stimulates a need instead of like satisfying it. And so what are the things that tempt me? I guess I just get really frustrated when I'm not able to get to my farmer's market, or I'm not in my hometown and I have to go to a supermarket, and all the green is packaged in plastic. All the kale and basil it seems to be always wrapped in plastic. It just frustrates me so much. Or they don't even have loose greens. It's all in the plastic bags. Because greens are like such a staple in my diet. I really love eating fresh greens, so that's really frustrating. And I definitely get cravings for like kale and fresh greens, so when I can't satisfy that, that's really frustrating. But no, I don't break it. What would I get cravings for? Oh, I haven't had the time to really make chips lately, so I definitely get cravings for chips, just like something salty and light and dry and crisp. I do make chips when I'm like, grounded and able to like slice up beets or sweet potatoes. I haven't had time to do that lately, so I've been really craving them. And when I'm at friends' house and they have a bowl of chips out, I'm like, oof, I might have a couple. So sometimes I indulge if other people are are having some, have a little treat for myself. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard to deny ourselves. It's hard to completely cut ourselves off. So I would just recommend doing your best. If you're avoiding plastic wrapped treats 70% of the time, that's pretty good. So I think you should be proud of yourself, and yeah, maybe cut it down to 80%. Make some treats at home. That always helps. I know it's like the convenience of the candy bar being right there. That's like I could just grab it and enjoy it right away. But it's when you make it, it's that the enjoyment is so much greater because you've made it, and then you can usually make heaps of them and you can share them with friends. So. And then our last question for this little session is, it seems like the largest contributors to pollution are Asia, Africa, and the fishing industry, largely driven by China and Taiwan. How can we focus on these massive polluters? Banning straws in California seems futile. Okay, so there's a lot here. And it's a question. I'm really glad that this one was asked, because these countries is what is considered the global south, and they are the largest polluters because the global north ships our trash to the global south. So all of the trash that and recyclables, we have been mostly, I'm speaking for Australia and the United States when I say we, my two homes. We've been shipping all of our trash to China. And in January 2018, and all high-income countries were shipping their trash to China. So in January of last year, China banned most imports of plastic waste. They basically, their conditions for sorting through our trash were really horrendous. Like, if you've ever looking at your average recycling bin, it's disgusting. It's even the trash bin as well, but like the trash is just going to sit in a landfill. The recycling is gross. So actual humans have to sort through that, and it's not getting sorted through. It's not getting cleaned and then sorted. It's getting put onto a conveyor belt. All of these kind of like optic sorters go through it and sorted into the different types, and then that gets baled up and then sold off to China for a while, and then they would get separated and picked through and try and identify things of value that they could make something out of, or they could sell to someone who would make something out of it. So recycling is just like a very cost inefficient system in in the first place. It just doesn't make anyone very much money because it's cheaper to just use virgin plastics. So when we lost China as the major importer of all of our waste, they just said no. They wanted to clean up. There'd been a lot of documentaries being made on the conditions in China around the recycling and the waste. So they had to take action around that, or they chose to. And that was huge. That was a massive blow to the world, to the global north, because we definitely counted on that. And they warned us that they were going to do that, and no one really took action or made plans. So when China cut it off, a a lot of Southeast Asian nations jumped in to fill that gap. Malaysia being the main, they took on nearly 500,000 tons in the first, I think, 6 months of 2018. So that's a ton of waste for a country that just didn't have the infrastructure set up. And there's the international trade system is based on a number of international agreements, was supposed to regulate the selling, buying, and importing of recyclable plastic waste, and that's just not happening. So it's complicated, but that's why those countries are the top polluters, is they don't have, is because they have their trash, they have their waste, and on top of their waste, we're sending them our waste, and they don't have the infrastructure set up to manage any of it. They literally have rudimentary recycling plants that might be chopping up soft plastics into shred, and then they have villages sorting. They have individuals on trucks and bicycles delivering this stuff around. I mean, it's not set up to manage the amount of waste that we're producing. So what we need to do, instead of thinking about the waste and the pollution, when it gets to that stage, we need to back up and go to the source of all of that. So why do we have so much waste? Why are we contributing so much recycling and so much waste to these Southeast Asian countries? We need to stop sending them so much. So how do we stop sending them so much? We need to stop using so much. How do we stop using so much? We need to ban straws and take some of these other measures against single-use plastics to help influence the greater psychology. So banning straws seems futile. It's pretty low-hanging fruit. Like, it's easy to target straws. You don't really need them. Nobody needs a straw. Oh, well, actually, that's untrue. A lot of disabled people require straws to be able to consume food and drink. So I correct myself there. However, the majority of people don't need them. So banning them is kind of an easy way for politicians to seem like they're getting on board and doing something about this. It's not huge, but as an environmentalist, I take this as a win. I think all of this legislation is important because it could set precedent that we could build on, as well as starting to infiltrate the minds of everyone. There's government action being taken, there's policy change, there's some corporations are following suit in small ways, but those are important and they should be celebrated. Those are wins. So none of this should be taken for granted. I'm grateful for all of this change, and because we can continue to build on this momentum and continue to build towards more solutions that really matter, such as reducing plastic packaging, such as incorporating more reusable, more refillable, repurposable packaging at that level, at that scale of large corporate manufacturers and producers. They need to be thinking more along those lines. So that's the techniques, and there is efforts being made. Huge conversations are being had with those corporations behind the scenes. So things are definitely coming around. And there also are the really great programs such as the Zero Waste Cities program, which was launched in the Philippines, and this is helping small villages in Southeast Asia that have overwhelming trash problems, helping them manage their trash within their little cities. So employing waste pickers to go around through the streets and collect the waste. And so now waste picking used to be like quite maybe less favorable position in the community, and now they're employed, so their status has risen. They have regular income, which is great for them, and they go around to each household, and the households, if they're participating, have sorted out their just landfill, their food scraps, compostables, metal and glass, or anything that is recyclable in the Philippines. So the waste pickers can go collect all of those, put them into their respective bins, and then they push their cart along, and they go throughout their whole little village. And then they go to the sorting center, the materials recovery facility, and in there they put everything into different bags, and then the compost, they build a little community garden, and then they can sell the different bags once they have enough. So that's a system that's actually working. Like the water running in the streets in these villages runs clean, which is amazing. So these things can happen on the small scale as well. Like we don't just have to think like ban everything and like take down corporations. It's also like localization is really important as well. So coming up with solutions on the local scale is super important and should not be overlooked. So if you're listening, please be inspired to act locally, get involved in global campaigns and world campaigns, and definitely like sign petitions, but work on your local community as well. You know, if your farmer's market has plastic bags, campaign to get paper bags or no bags, or bring your own bags. You know, it might take a year or 2 or 3 for everyone to catch on, so let there be that grace period. But that's a really beautiful thing to do, and that reduces a lot of plastic waste. So it's easy to point fingers at Asia and be like, they're polluting, but they follow what we do. The world responds to the Global North's example. So if the Global North is banning straws, all the resorts all over the world that the Global North travels to in the Global South, our vacation spots, are going to see that and act accordingly and reciprocate that measure, that perspective on plastics. So it's only a matter of time. It's happening. It's really exciting. And yeah, just do your best to live by example, and that alone will inspire so many people around you. Cool. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for the Q&A. I hope you have a great day.